Okay, let's see what we have done today. We began with contemplation of dharmas, and then we went on to the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates, the 6 internal and external sense bases, and then to the awakening factors 1 to 4. Under contemplation of dharmas, we saw that dharmas are special mental objects classified according to the Buddha and to be investigated in terms of causes and conditions. And we also found that the instructions to observe the nature of arising and vanishing are explicitly given in each exercise, showing that the vipassana refrain is redundant for this Satipatthana. As for the 5 hindrances, we saw that the hindrances can be dealt with according to the instructions only if the mind is composed, only if the 4 prerequisites mentioned in the definition in the Satipatthana formula are fulfilled. Right? What's the first one? Being ardent, clearly knowing, being mindful, and having subdued longing and desire in regard to the world. So if these conditions are not there, if the mind is not composed enough, then you have to resort to other means, such as those found in Satipatthana Sutta, MN 20, and those recommended by the commentary. It is essential for the hindrances to be subdued before any form of mental development can be done. This was stressed in earlier talk where I said that the Buddha said in Anguttara Nikaya that the mind is luminous and it is only defiled by visiting defilements. For the uninstructed or uninformed worldling who does not know this according to what has occurred, there is no mental development. Yeah. But for the informed disciple of the Noble One who knows this according to what has occurred, then there is mental development, which means to say that you have to experience the luminosity of the mind. The mind becomes luminous when the hindrances have been kept at bay for some time. Only then can you develop wisdom. Okay? As for the 5 aggregates, we saw that the 5 aggregates comprise the subjective aspects of experience of a sentient being, and they are arranged in the order of subtlety experienced during the course of meditation. The mind must be quite composed, that is, have good samadhi, in order to clearly distinguish each aggregate, particularly vijnana. You can, if your mind is already quite composed through the practice of continual open awareness throughout your daily life, you can also identify the aggregates. The most important criteria is your mind must be composed. Right? If you don't practice daily awareness and you just do sitting meditation, then your mind must be really very settled before you can look at it. After identifying each aggregate, one must contemplate how it arises and disappears, just as the other exercises in the Dhammanupassana section. As for the 6 internal and external sense bases, the objects for vipassana are sankharas, conditioners. Now I will deal with this more in tomorrow's slides to give you more canonical evidence on how or why I arrive at this conclusion that the objects for vipassana are sankharas and not paramatta dhammas. Right? And they are called conditioners because they are brought into existence by causes and conditions. And once they are brought into existence, they also condition other causes and conditions. Therefore, there is both the passive and the active aspect of conditioning. Right? They are the product of causes and conditions, and they also is the cause and condition that will influence other things. Sankharas include sense objects, citta and cetasikas, as well as thoughts, ideas, beliefs, expectations, etc. Right? They are not limited to just rupa, citta and cetasika. Keeping a close watch on how the mind responds or reacts to the 6 senses is the key to both spiritual and worldly success. It's not only for spiritual success. If you are able to keep a watch on your mind, knowing your intentions, what's going on in your mind when you have a conversation with people, when you have a debate or an argument with people, when you relate with people, then you become a master of your mind instead of a slave of your emotions. This constitutes the basis and rationale for the continual daily practice of open awareness. And when I was in Singapore a couple of years ago, someone asked me about this open awareness technique, whether it can be found in the suttas, because it is something relatively new. People, when they talk about meditation, they are talking about focused awareness, trying to focus your attention on something. And now I'm talking about open awareness, not focusing on anything in particular. So this sounds very unconventional and strange. So I said that this can actually be found in Dhammanupassana under the 6 sense basis, but it's an extension of that, more than just watching the fetter, but looking at other causes and conditions as well. How other mental attitudes and states that arise because of the confluence of the sense, internal sense base and the external sense base. Now we also talked about the awakening factors. The range of application for the awakening factors are not just limited to the exercises in the Satipatthana Sutta. This range includes reflection on the Dhamma discourse and the arising of the ensuing awakening factors. Right? In the first sutta on page 98 to 100, we talked. It's called Virtue Sutta, where the Buddha talks about how the awakening factor of mindfulness can, in the form of remembering a Dhamma talk, can lead to the development of the rest of the awakening factors. It also includes other meditations based on seclusion, dispassion and cessation and maturing in release, for example, the 4 Brahma Viharas, Asubha and various perceptions. And as I said, intently listening to the Dhamma discourse can also bring about the 7 awakening factors and a development of fulfillment. Right? This is something more reachable for most of you. Right? So don't underestimate this. Right? So this covers what we have done today. So any questions before we do sharing of merits and our aspirations? No? Okay, so I hope that tonight all of you will continue, not only tonight, right now and until you fall asleep tonight, you will try to practice open awareness. Open awareness doesn't depend on a fixed time. There's no such time as from what time to what time. The moment you're awake until you fall asleep, even if you cannot fall asleep and if all those thoughts going on in your mind, you just have to ask yourself, where is my mind? What's my mind doing? And they will bring you right back to the present moment. Okay?